High Admiral Zena Vix of the Galactic Concordat stood at the helm of the Stellar Arbiter, her flagship's crystalline bridge offering a panoramic view of the unremarkable yellow star and its third planet. Her four eyes narrowed as she studied the blue-green world below, its night side dotted with primitive electrical illumination. The planet's inhabitants called it Earth, another developing species requiring our guidance, she mused, her silver-scaled skin reflecting the starlight. How many does this make, Science Director? Science Director Krell adjusted his atmospheric processing unit, his tentacles moving across multiple holographic displays. This marks the 47th primitive civilization we've encountered this stellar cycle, Admiral. Initial scans indicate they've barely mastered nuclear fission. Their primary energy source remains fossil fuel combustion. Fascinating how they've survived this long, Zena remarked, her secondary hearts beating in perfect rhythm. The Concordat had spent millennia uplifting species across the galaxy, guiding them toward enlightenment. This would be no different. Or so she thought. The first anomaly appeared during the routine sensor sweep. A junior analyst, fresh from the academy, noticed it first. "Admiral," she called out, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with confusion. "I'm detecting inconsistencies." Zena glided across the bridge, her gravitational stabilizers humming softly. "Explain." "Their communication systems, Admiral. They're using primitive radio waves and fiber optics, but," the analyst's tentacles twisted in frustration, "there's something else. Patterns in the background radiation that shouldn't be there, like echoes of far more advanced technology." "Impossible," Krell interrupted. "Their technological development follows the standard progression model. Perhaps your instruments need calibration." But more anomalies followed. Their probes detected trace elements in Earth's atmosphere that suggested advanced particle manipulation. Orbital debris patterns hinted at space capability far beyond their apparent level. Yet official records showed only primitive chemical rockets and a handful of basic space stations. "Most peculiar," Zena muttered, reviewing the data. "Prepare the first contact delegation. Let's see these humans up close." The landing site chosen by Earth's governments was a flat plain in a region called Kazakhstan. As the Concordat's diplomatic shuttle descended through the atmosphere, Zena noticed something else strange. The humans had detected their approach instantly, despite supposedly lacking advanced sensor technology. The welcoming committee was small, 3 humans in simple clothing, standing calmly in the cold morning air. No military presence, no crowds, no media circus. Just 2 males and a female, waiting with inexplicable confidence. As Zena emerged from the shuttle with her delegation, she prepared to deliver the Concordat's standard greeting to developing civilizations. The words died in her throat as the female human stepped forward. "High Admiral Zena Vix," the human said in perfect Concordat standard, her pronunciation flawless. "I'm Director Sarah Chen of Earth's Special Relations Division. We've been expecting you." Zena's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. They hadn't transmitted their names or titles. They hadn't even established basic communication protocols yet. "How do you know my name?" she demanded, her diplomatic training momentarily forgotten. Director Chen smiled, the expression somehow both warm and ancient. "We know many things, Admiral. For instance, we know your ship's quantum harmonics are slightly misaligned. It's causing the persistent headache you've been experiencing. We can help you fix that, if you'd like." One of the male humans stepped forward, introducing himself as Dr. James Martinez. "But first, perhaps we should discuss why the Galactic Concordat really came to Earth. It wasn't just for routine first contact, was it?" Zena's scales rippled with shock. The Concordat's true mission, to assess Earth's potential as a client species and secure its resources for the greater good of the galaxy, was known only to her and a handful of others. "I don't know what you mean," she began, but the second male human, who introduced himself simply as Michael, raised his hand. The air around them shimmered, and suddenly Zena's neural translator, her quantum communicator, and every piece of advanced technology she carried simply stopped working. "Please, Admiral," Director Chen said, still smiling. "Let's not begin our relationship with deception. We've had quite enough of that lately. Would you like to know why we've maintained the appearance of a primitive civilization? Why we let the galaxy believe we were just discovering the basics of space travel?" As if on cue, alarms began blaring from the stellar arbiter in orbit. Zena watched in stunned silence as hundreds of ships simply appeared around Earth, emerging from what appeared to be folds in space itself. Ships of impossible design, radiating power that made her flagship look like a child's toy. "You see, Admiral," Director Chen continued, her eyes reflecting millennia of knowledge, "sometimes the most advanced civilizations are the ones wise enough to appear primitive. We've been out among the stars since before your species first looked up at the night sky and wondered what the lights meant." The truth about humanity was about to shatter everything the Concordat thought it knew about the galaxy, and Zena Vix had a feeling this was only the beginning. The stellar arbiter's bridge had never been so silent. High Admiral Zena Vix watched as Earth's hidden fleet took up defensive positions around the planet, their designs defying every known principle of ship architecture. They weren't just advanced, they seemed to bend reality itself. "Impossible," Science Director Krell whispered, his tentacles trembling as he analyzed the readings. "They're energy signatures. They're manipulating fundamental forces we didn't even know existed." Director Chen's voice came through their communication system, though none of their equipment was actually functioning. "Admiral, we've detected a situation that requires immediate attention. Several Concordat worlds are about to come under attack." "Attack? From whom?" Zena demanded, her scales shifting to alert crimson. "Our borders are secure, our defensive networks are about to fail," Dr. Martinez interrupted, his image appearing on their main display. "The Void Swarm has awakened ahead of schedule. You're about to lose contact with the Proxima sector in approximately 3 minutes." As if summoned by his words, emergency signals began flooding in from the furthest reaches of Concordat space. Entire communication networks were going dark, defense systems failing, and something vast and ancient was moving through the darkness between stars. "This is why we revealed ourselves," Director Chen explained, her voice carrying the weight of ages. "Humanity has fought the swarm before, long ago. We've been preparing for their return while the rest of the galaxy slept, unknowing." Michael, the quiet human who had disabled their technology with a gesture, finally spoke. "Admiral, you have a choice to make. Your people can either accept our help and survive, or maintain your pride and face extinction. We estimate you have about 30 seconds to decide." Zena's 4 eyes darted between her officers, seeing the same fear and confusion on their faces. Everything they believed about their place in the galaxy, about their role as guardians and guides to younger races, was crumbling around them. "How?" she finally asked. "How did we not know? Our archaeological surveys, our historical records. Did you ever wonder," Director Chen asked, "why there are so many gaps in the galaxy's ancient history? Why certain regions of space seem older than they should be? Why some star systems show signs of engineering that predate known civilization?" Before Zena could respond, a massive structure began rising from Earth's surface. It dwarfed anything the Concordat had ever built, a tower that stretched beyond the atmosphere, its surface covered in symbols that hurt to look at. "The Beacon of Dawn," Dr. Martinez explained, "one of many we built during the first Swarm War, millions of years ago. They've been dormant, waiting, just like us." The tower's apex began to pulse with energy, and suddenly the space around Earth transformed. Zena watched in awe as reality itself seemed to crystallize, forming patterns that her mind struggled to comprehend. "What you're seeing," Michael said softly, "is the activation of the Lattice, a defense network humanity built across the galaxy when we first achieved spaceflight. We've maintained it in secret, preparing for this moment." New alerts flashed across the stellar arbiter's screens. The Void Swarm had breached the Proxima sector's defenses, consuming everything in its path. But as the reports of destruction poured in, something else happened. Earth's hidden fleet began to move, ships splitting into smaller units that disappeared into folds of space. The beacon of dawn pulsed again, and similar structures began rising on thousands of worlds across the galaxy, worlds the Concordat had classified as primitive or uninhabited. "Your species may be older than ours," Director Chen said, her voice gentle but firm. "But age isn't the same as experience. Humanity learned that lesson long ago, in wars you couldn't imagine. We've spent millions of years preparing, waiting, watching younger races rise and develop. We hid our true nature not out of fear or secrecy, but because we learned that power without wisdom destroys civilizations." The beacon of dawn reached full power, and suddenly Zena could see it. The true shape of the galaxy, crisscrossed with lines of force that had always been there, hidden just beneath the surface of reality. Humanity's ancient network, waiting to be awakened. "The awakening protocol is now active," Dr. Martinez announced. "Admiral, your ship's systems will receive an upgrade shortly. You'll need it for what's coming." As if in response, the stellar arbiter hummed with new energy. Displays showed capabilities that shouldn't have been possible, weapons that could reshape space itself, and defensive systems that made their previous technology look like stone tools. "Welcome," Director Chen said, "to humanity's galaxy. Now shall we discuss how to save your people from the swarm?" Zena looked at her crew, at the impossible human ships surrounding them, and at the ancient defense network awakening across the stars. The galaxy was changing, and the Concordat would have to change with it. "We're listening," she said, her scales shifting to the deep blue of acceptance. "Tell us everything." The true war for the galaxy's survival was about to begin, and humanity had been preparing for it since before the Concordat existed. The question was, would the younger races be ready for the truth about their place in the universe? As the stellar arbiter followed Earth's flagship through the quantum wake, High Admiral Zenavik struggled to process what she was seeing. They were traveling to coordinates that shouldn't exist, through regions of space that defied the Concordat's most advanced navigational theories. "The Meridian Archive," Director Chen explained, standing calmly on the Arbiter's bridge despite the impossible physics swirling around them. "One of humanity's oldest installations. It's time you understood who we really are." The ships emerged in a system that, according to all Concordat charts, didn't exist. A massive structure orbited a blue giant star, a sphere the size of a small moon, its surface etched with patterns that seemed to shift and change as Zena watched. "That's impossible," Science Director Krell muttered, his tentacles writhing in agitation. The energy required to construct something of that scale was considerable, Dr. Martinez interrupted, appearing next to Chen, in what Zena now recognized as a far more advanced form of holographic projection. "We built it about 3 million years ago, during what your histories call the Dark Age. Though we prefer to call it the First Renaissance." The ships docked with the sphere, and as Zena and her senior staff followed the humans through its corridors, the true scope of humanity's legacy began to unfold. Vast chambers housed technologies that made the Concordat's most advanced achievements look primitive. But more shocking were the historical records. "This can't be accurate," Zena whispered, her 4 eyes wide as she watched a holographic display showing human ships seeding galaxies with life, building the very foundations of what would become the cosmic web. "You're claiming humanity engineered the conditions for life itself." "Not entirely," Michael said, his quiet voice carrying an ancient weight. "We merely encouraged it, guided evolution toward sentience where we found promising conditions. Your species, Admiral, was one of our more successful projects." The revelation hit Zena like a gravitational wave. "You created us." "Created is too strong a word," Director Chen corrected gently. "We found your ancestral species struggling to survive on a dying world. We adjusted their environment, made subtle changes to their genetic code, and gave them a chance to evolve naturally. We did the same for thousands of species across the galaxy. The next chamber contained something that made even Krell fall silent, a perfect replica of the Concordat's homeworld, as it had existed millions of years ago, preserved in a temporal stasis field. We keep records, Dr. Martinez explained, of every world we shepherded, every species we guided, not because we seek to control them, but because we learned the hard way that with great power comes an even greater responsibility to preserve and protect. But why hide? Zena asked, her scales shifting through colors of confusion and awe. Why pretend to be primitive when you held such power? The humans exchanged glances, and for the first time, Zena saw genuine sadness in their eyes. Director Chen gestured, and the chamber's displays changed to show a devastating war that had raged across multiple galaxies. We weren't always wise, Chen said softly. Once, we were like the Concordat, believing our advanced technology gave us the right to guide younger races to shape the galaxy according to our vision. That arrogance attracted the attention of the Void Swarm. The images showed human civilizations falling, entire solar systems being consumed by living darkness. But they also showed humanity's response, the creation of weapons that could unmake reality itself. We won that war, Michael continued, but the cost was too high. We had become what we fought against, beings who wielded power without understanding its true purpose. So we made a choice. The displays showed humanity's greatest achievement, not a weapon or a megastructure, but a plan spanning millions of years. They had hidden their true nature, seeded the galaxy with life, and watched over their creations from the shadows. Earth isn't just our homeworld, Dr. Martinez explained. It's a reminder. We maintain the appearance of primitive technology to remember where we came from, to never again fall into the trap of believing advancement equals wisdom. A new alert echoed through the archive. The Void Swarm had consumed another sector of Concordat space. But this time, humanity's ancient defenses were awakening, ready to face an enemy they had defeated once before. Now you understand why we revealed ourselves, Director Chen said, turning to face Zena. The Swarm's return was inevitable. But this time, we won't fight alone. We've spent millions of years preparing the younger races, you, Admiral, for this moment. The Archive's central chamber activated, revealing a vast tactical display of the entire galaxy. Points of light showed humanity's hidden outposts, defense networks, and fleets, all awakening from their long dormancy. The question is, Michael said, his eyes fixed on Zena, now that you know the truth about your place in the galaxy, about humanity's role as the original seeders of life, what will you do with that knowledge? Zena looked at her officers, seeing the same mix of awe and uncertainty in their expressions. Everything they had believed about their civilization, their purpose, their very origins, had been upended. But as she watched humanity's ancient mechanisms spinning to life, preparing to defend the galaxy they had spent millions of years cultivating, she realized there was only one choice. Teach us, she said, her scales settling into the deep purple of resolve. Show us how to fight beside you. The true test of humanity's long experiment in guiding younger races was about to begin, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The Void Swarm moved like living darkness through Concordat space, consuming everything in its path. From the command center deep within the Meridian Archive, High Admiral Zena Vix watched as another colony world went dark. But this time, something different happened. As the swarm engulfed the planet Nexus Prime, the ground itself came alive. Ancient machines, buried beneath the surface for millions of years, awakened. A crystalline structure erupted from the planet's core, spreading a web of light that pushed back the darkness. The Nexus Defense Grid, Dr. Martinez explained, his hands moving across control surfaces that responded to thought rather than touch. One of thousands we planted across the galaxy during our withdrawal, each one designed to activate when the swarm returned. Director Chen stood at the center of the command hub, her form shifting between physical and energy as she coordinated humanity's response. "Admiral, your fleet is in position. Are they ready to witness what comes next?" Xena nodded, her scales shimmering with anticipation. The combined Concordat fleet, the mightiest gathering of ships in known space, hung in formation around Earth's solar system. They were about to see humanity's true military might unleashed. "Signal the Lazarus Protocol," Michael commanded, his quiet voice carrying undertones that made reality itself shiver. The space between stars began to shift. Massive structures emerged from what the Concordat had thought was empty void. Battle stations larger than planets, fleets that had slept in temporal stasis for millions of years, and weapons that defied comprehension. By the first light, Science Director Krell whispered, his tentacles coiling in astonishment. "You've been preparing for this since before we evolved." "Longer," Director Chen corrected. "Watch." The human fleet moved with impossible grace, ships flowing like liquid metal through space. They didn't travel through hyperspace or quantum tunnels. They simply rewrote the laws of physics around themselves, appearing wherever they chose to be. The first engagement with the swarm was beyond anything Xena had imagined. Human weapons didn't just destroy their targets, they erased them from existence, removing them from the fabric of space-time itself. The swarm, for the first time in its ancient history, began to retreat. "But this is only the beginning," Dr. Martins warned, pulling up new tactical displays. "The swarm we're fighting is just a scout force. The main body is still approaching, and it's larger than anything we faced in the First War." The displays showed something that made Xena's heart stop, a mass of void energy larger than the galactic core, moving through intergalactic space toward them. Even humanity's godlike technology might not be enough to stop it. "This is why we need the younger races," Michael explained, gesturing to the Concordat fleet. "Our technology alone isn't the answer. We learned that lesson long ago. It's the combination of our ancient knowledge and your fresh perspective that will win this war." Director Chen nodded, her form solidifying. "Your people have developed technologies we never considered, Admiral. Different approaches to problems we thought we'd solved. That creativity, that innovation, it's what we've been cultivating all these years." The command center's displays shifted, showing how human technology could be integrated with Concordat systems. The combinations created effects that neither civilization had achieved alone. "You engineered our entire civilization for this moment," Xena realized, her scales shifting to the gold of enlightenment. Every technological breakthrough, every scientific discovery was guided, yes, Dr. Martinez admitted. "But the solutions you found were your own. We merely pointed you in promising directions." A new alert echoed through the command center. The swarm's main body had accelerated. They would reach the galaxy's edge in days rather than the predicted weeks. "Now you understand the true purpose of the Concordat," Director Chen said, her eyes reflecting starlight. "You weren't meant to be guardians of younger races. You were meant to be humanity's partners in defending all life in this galaxy." The human fleet regrouped, taking positions that corresponded to ancient power nodes scattered across space. The Meridian Archive itself began to transform, its outer layers peeling the way to reveal weapons that had slept for millions of years. "The question now," Michael said, turning to Xena, "is whether the Concordat is ready to embrace its true purpose. Are you prepared to fight alongside beings you once thought were primitive, knowing we guided your entire evolution toward this moment?" Xena looked at her officers, seeing not offense at the revelation of their guided development, but determination. The Concordat had always believed it was their duty to guide younger races. Learning they had been guided themselves didn't change that purpose, it validated it. "We're ready," she declared, her scales burning with the deep red of battle readiness. "Show us how to fight them." The combined human and Concordat fleet moved into formation as the darkness approached. The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin, and its outcome would determine not just the fate of current civilizations, but the future of all life humanity had seeded across the cosmos. The storm was coming, and this time, humanity wouldn't face it alone. The final battle began not with weapons fire or tactical maneuvers, but with a transformation. As the Void Swarm's main body approached the galaxy's edge, humanity revealed their ultimate defense. The true purpose of every star, every planet, every particle they had carefully arranged over millions of years. Initiating the Starweaver Protocol, Director Chen announced, her form now pure energy as she interfaced with systems that predated most stars. The galaxy itself began to change. High Admiral Zena Vix watched in awe as constellations shifted, forming patterns that had been hidden since the beginning of time. Every world humanity had seeded, every civilization they had guided, became a point in an unimaginably vast array. The galaxy itself is the weapon, Science Director Krull breathed, finally understanding. Everything, our worlds, our technology, even our evolution, was designed to be part of this moment. Dr. Martinez nodded, his human form flickering between states of matter. Your people's quantum drives, the Andorians' gravity manipulators, the Centauri's dimensional technology. Each advancement we guided you toward was a piece of this puzzle. The Void Swarm struck like a tide of unreality, attempting to consume the galaxy's outer rim. But this time, something different happened. Each world touched by the darkness lit up, releasing energy that had been stored since humanity first seeded life there. Now, Michael commanded, his voice resonating through space itself. Show them what humanity and its children can do together. The combined fleet moved as one. Concordat ships channeled power through human-designed conduits, their weapons enhanced by technology millions of years old. Human vessels danced through space-time, coordinating attacks with precision that made physics itself bow. But the true power came from the worlds themselves. Every civilization humanity had guided, every species they had watched over, contributed their unique energies to the galaxy's defense. The Starweaver Protocol merged their technologies, their innovations, their very essence into something new. This was your plan all along, Zena realized as she watched the battle unfold. Not to fight the swarm with superior firepower, but to create something they couldn't consume. The combined potential of thousands of different approaches to understanding reality. Director Chen's energy form pulsed in agreement. The swarm adapts to any single form of attack, any individual civilization's defenses. But the combined creativity of thousands of species, each approaching the problem differently. That's something even they can't overcome. The darkness reeled as it encountered defense after defense, each designed by a different species under humanity's subtle guidance. The Concordat's quantum matrices resonated with Andorian gravity wells, creating effects that tore holes in the swarm's consciousness. Centauri dimensional shifters worked in harmony with human temporal technologies to trap portions of the enemy outside of normal spacetime. The full activation sequence is ready, Dr. Martinez announced as the battle reached its peak. Admiral, would you do the honor? After all, your people's contribution to the array was crucial. Zena stepped forward, her scales shimmering with all the colors of her emotions. With a gesture, she initiated the Concordat's part of the sequence, the final piece of a plan millions of years in the making. The galaxy blazed with light as every world, every station, every ship contributed its energy to the array. The Void Swarm, for the first time in its ancient existence, knew fear. It tried to retreat, but humanity's children had woven a trap from the fabric of reality itself. For all life, Director Chen proclaimed, past, present, and future. The galaxy itself seemed to pulse, and the swarm, unraveled, not destroyed, but transformed, its dark energy converted into something new, the seeds of future stars and worlds. As the light faded and the galaxy settled into its new configuration, Zena turned to her human allies. What happens now? Michael smiled, his form returning to fully human. Now, Admiral, we begin the next phase. Humanity has guided the galaxy's civilizations from infancy, but you've proven yourselves ready for more. Director Chen nodded, solidifying beside him. The time has come for humanity to step forward not as hidden shepherds, but as equal partners with the civilizations we helped create. The galaxy faces new challenges, new frontiers. We'll face them together. Dr. Martinez brought up a display showing thousands of worlds, each glowing with potential. The Starweaver Protocol didn't just defeat the swarm. It linked all sapient species in ways we never dreamed possible, each civilization maintaining its uniqueness while contributing to something greater. Zena looked at the display, seeing her own people's worlds shining alongside thousands of others. The Concordat had thought itself the galaxy's guardian, only to discover they were part of something far greater, a family of civilizations, guided by humanity toward a shared destiny. Together then, she said, her scales settling into the deep blue of certainty. What's our first step? The humans exchanged glances, and for the first time in millions of years, they felt true hope for the future. They had created, guided, and protected. Now they could do something they had longed for since the beginning. They could walk openly among their children, sharing in the wonder of discovery. The first step, Director Chen said, smiling, is to introduce the family to each other properly. After all, we have a galaxy to rebuild, and this time, we'll do it together. The age of secrets was over. The age of unity had begun, and humanity, the eldest of all civilizations, would face tomorrow not as hidden guardians, but as proud parents watching their children take their first steps into a brightness they had helped create. The true gift of humanity's legacy wasn't their technology or their power. It was the wisdom to know when to step back, when to guide, and when to let their children soar on their own wings. The galaxy's future was no longer humanity's alone to protect. It belonged to all of them, together. And somewhere in the vast darkness between galaxies, new lights began to shine. The transformed essence of the void swarm, reborn as the seeds of new worlds, new possibilities, new hope. The cycle would begin again. But this time, all of humanity's children would share in the joy of creation. The end was just another beginning, just as humanity had planned all along.